All right, so we're back. I don't know if this is going to be one or two parts, but what I have done since I left off is I went and bought one of these hole punchers. This one was fairly cheap. Got it on Amazon for about, I think, $7. So I was just struggling with my hole punch. It went dull and I couldn't get it sharpened, even though I said how easy it was. So this is going to make life a whole lot easier. So you can see here I got the hole marks where I kind of struggled making the holes. And all that you have to do is just put it where you want it and squeeze. And you got a nice hole right where you want it. Go ahead and just do the same thing. All of these. So you can see how much quicker that is, and I didn't have to shake the camera. So now this strap, I do have to trim it down because it's uneven. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to first cut this part off right here. And now I'm going to take this, I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to mark it right about there because I want it to be about the same distance. And this doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be rounding this off. So there's that. Get a nice cut. I'm going to fold it, line it up. Now I'm just going to make my marks where I want my holes. Don't know if you can see that, but there's one there, and one there. Take my hole punch. Trying to make sure it's nice and centered. There we go. Got my holes punched on that one. Now I need to finish punching the holes on this one. 1, 2, 3. So much simpler. Alright, so now I'm going to use something rounded, like this bobbin casing. I'm going to slide it up to the edge of where I want it. So right about there. I'm going to draw my line. And then I'll cut along that line. But I'm going to go ahead and measure on all these before I do so. I forgot I need to trim this one down before I do that. So right now you can see it's a little wide. It won't fit. It's because it's a little bit bigger than 1 inch. And that's because my gluing was not perfect. Alright, so I'm just going to take a straight edge and I am going to trim off a little bit on each side just to make it even. So I'll just do that. And again, I'm not taking off much, but you can see where it's a little bit up on this side. So I'm just trimming off that excess and anywhere that meets in the middle. I'm keeping it the same distance from that edge for the whole thing. And it's really just an eyeball thing because it doesn't have to be exactly perfect. No one's going to notice if it's slightly uneven. You can see I'm not taking much off. I took off this little sliver and this little sliver, just making that edge perfectly straight. You can still see a little bit right here I need to do, so I'm just going to scoot it down a little bit and do a little bit more. Just like this. Oops. Such a small area, it's not wanting to cut. Let me try my smaller blade. Here we go. Oops, I think I might have cut through my mat. Yep. It's a problem with using something that's not a self-healing. See if I can get it from this side. Make it nice and smooth. But again, I'm going to burnish this so it doesn't really matter that much. But you want it as close to smooth as possible just to make your life easier when you're trying to burnish. There we go. You see, not much different. Just trimmed it down just enough to get the sides even. All right. Trace this bobbin. It's a little big, actually. Guess I'll make it work. Just using the hole of the bobbin to put it right on that center hole. Putting the hole in the bobbin right on that center hole again. This way it's going to be the same on both sides, and it's exactly the same. Alright. Now I'm going to grab my scissors to cut these. Ooh. And if you have one of the strap-in cutters, make your life a little easier. But for this, I'm just going to go around. And I just realized I didn't need to poke those holes. That's still going to be plenty of size, so I'm going to go ahead and trace this. Wasn't thinking straight. I'm cutting on the inside of that line because I want all that pen that I put on there to be taken off. So there we go. That's plenty enough for the strap, even though I made a mistake. And you know, that's the cool thing about it. A lot of times you can fix your mistakes. If you punch a hole in something that's a big sheet of leather, that's something you can't fix. But little things you can often fix. So now I'm just going to cut this one. Getting on the inside of that line. Just tracing around. Making sure it's nice and smooth. So I have this little hump here, and I can still see blue right there, so I went a little bit above the line there. So just going through and smoothing it out. I have a little bump right there. So I'm going to take that off. All right. So now this is not perfectly rounded, and it's not gonna be. So I'm going to take a bit of sandpaper, and I'm going to smooth it down. Here's my sandpaper. This is a pretty heavy grit, but I just use it just to round off these edges a little bit better. And I am just rolling it on the sandpaper. I'm not pushing, I'm just letting sandpaper do the work. You can see it kind of flattens it out, but it also makes that nice and round. So I'm going to do that on these. Nice and rounded. And this is just going to get off any little points that you might have. You can see it kind of fraying some of the areas that were high. You just want to get those off. You can see like this is still there. Just a few little things. Now it's gone. You just want to make sure you smooth it all out. And you can go down to thinner and thinner grit sandpapers just like you're using wood. But this is all that I need because I'm just going to be burnishing this. Alright, so I have this strap and this strap ready to go. Still got a little high spot right there, I see. Get that corner up a little bit. There we go. Much better. Set those aside. Now we go back to the actual cover itself. We have this extra material. Now that it's dry, we need to trim it off. And so I just take my X-Acto knife, and I'm not pushing or anything, and I'm just dragging it along. And I'm going to go a few times. Just dragging it along until it's cut away. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to be sanding this and making it perfect with that. Alright, so now let's cut this corner the same way. I'm not pushing hard. I am literally just following the curve that we made. I don't want to cut into that curve, so I'm just going nice and slow. So almost there. There we go. Got a little high spot right there. Never cut towards your hands. So if you're going to be pulling towards you, you want to make sure your hand is up, not down here. There we go. That squeak is it actually cutting through the glue. I didn't quite get close enough, so I'm going to go ahead and go over that again. So, go. Get around this curve. Okay. There we go. Now I'm just going to hit these up with that sandpaper. Just rounding it off. Smoothing it out. So when I go to the next step, it'll be a lot easier. See, this is just glue, and that will come off when we sand it. See, it's already coming off. And if you can't get it off, you can either rub with your finger like this, or you can take one of these rubber erasers sorry to shake everything. See, it just makes it disappear. Got some black stuff on there. Kind of leaving a little bit of residue, but that won't matter. That's good enough. Back to sanding. Okay, so now this has actually raised the edges a little bit, which is good because now we are going to use our edge beveler. So this is this, but I got mine wrong. I have a universal tool, which is good. I got it on Amazon. And this tool has different attachments to it. So I'm just going to grab my edge beveler, which is this one. Let's see if I can get it to focus on it. Come on, focus on my hand. Nope. Oh well. Takes this little tiny wrench. I'm going to loosen this attachment, which is for when you're hand stitching and you need to give yourself a guide. So unscrew this, take that out, loosen this up more. In there. Go. Slide it in. Tighten it up. There we go. Now we're ready to bevel our edges. Edge beveling is pretty simple. You just go along. Just cut off. You're just rounding this whole book. Straight parts are the easy parts. Corners, you just kind of gotta get a little bit at a time. There we go. And all the way around the outside. I'm going to flip it. Do it all the way around the inside. Thinner, softer leather is sometimes hard to bevel. Let's see, little pieces not wanting to come off. Just go ahead and take them off the best you can. It's really not entirely necessary to do that, but if you hold it down right when you start, you can usually get a good one like that. If not, you can do little tiny bevels where you just kind of shave it off a little bit. There we go. This section right here. So there is that. Now this one is ready. Got some stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this black off. I don't like it getting on my project. Go. Let's erasing the glue. See, it starts to ball up and gum up. Take it off and then go again. You want to make sure all the glue is off before you do any kind of finishing, whether you're dyeing or put an antique. It'll just mess everything up if it's not gone. There we go. Nice and gone. There's some more there. Good way to tell if you have glue somewhere, if you can't see it good, add water to your leather. Water will reveal where you have glue and the like on your surface. Everything else will get darker because it's getting wet, but the glue will actually keep that spot from getting wet right away so you can see it. So there's that. Now we're going to bevel these. Again, these are harder to do because it's a softer leather. But you just want to get the best you can. See, I'm kind of holding it and going between my two fingers because if you keep it tight, it doesn't stretch and the beveler will go right through it. Go. Again, not doing much, but It helps. It really does. Makes the burnishing portion a lot easier. All right. Go. All right, so now we move to my garage where I have my Dremel with my burnisher, which makes life a whole lot easier.